The following laws govern who must yield in different driving situations. You must follow these laws when there are no signs, signals, or police present to tell you what to do at the intersection. 1. Drivers must yield to pedestrians when the pedestrians are A. Crossing at any intersection without a traffic light and with or without a crosswalk. B. Crossing the roadway and marked crosswalks whether or not they are at an intersection. C. Walking on a sidewalk which crosses a driveway or alley. D. Crossing with the light when the driver is turning a corner. And E. Carrying a white cane or being led by a guide dog, signaling that they are blind. 2. Drivers turning left must yield to oncoming vehicles which are going straight ahead. 3. Drivers entering a circular intersection or roundabout must yield the right-of-way to drivers already in the circle. 4. When two vehicles approach or enter an intersection from different roadways at or about the same time, drivers coming from the left must yield to vehicles coming from the right. 5. A vehicle entering a public highway from an alley, private road, or driveway must wait until the main road is clear. 6. At a four-way stop, all vehicles must stop. The first vehicle to reach the intersection should move forward first. A. If two vehicles reach the intersection at the same time, the driver on the left yields to the driver on the right. B. If facing one another, both can proceed with caution, watching for possible turns. As you approach an intersection, look for signs, signals, and pavement markings telling you what movements are allowed from which lanes. Get into the correct position to turn or to travel through the intersection well in advance. Many street signs have signs or pavement markings indicating a particular lane is to be used for a particular traffic movement. If you end up in a lane marked for turns only when you want to go straight through the intersection, you must make the turn. If you want to turn, but end up in a lane marked for through traffic, you must continue straight through the intersection. Intersection directional signs and markings will use arrows in each lane of traffic to tell you if you may only turn right, only turn left, only go straight through the intersection, or a combination. For example, when you're in the right lane, you can turn right or go straight through. Some signs and markings include dual turn lanes. For example, a sign may signal that you may turn left from either leftmost lanes. That means if you are in the leftmost lane and there is a driver to your right, they may turn left at the same time. In this example, it is important that you do not change lanes during the turn, as this will cause you to crash into the driver turning next to you. Also, watch out for the driver next to you straying into your turning path. Your safety at intersections also depends a lot on your proper response to the green, yellow, and red lights you see on traffic signals and to two-way and four-way stop signs. Many streets in cities are one-way streets. You will know traffic on a particular street moves in only one direction if you see one-way signs posted at the intersection. Another clue a road is one-way is when you see vehicles parked on both sides of the road headed in the same direction. You will see one-way signs, wrong-way signs, and do not enter signs all together at roads intersecting with divided highways. You can think of a divided highway as two one-way streets. Most have a physical barrier separating traffic moving in each direction. This could be a narrow concrete barrier, or it could be a wide cement or grassy area. You will usually see a divided highway sign on your road as you approach the intersection. Making a right turn onto a divided highway is no different from making a right turn at any other intersection. Make sure you have a safe gap to turn right in front of approaching traffic from your left. There is a special danger in making a left turn onto a divided highway, however. If you do not realize you are turning onto a divided highway, you may turn left before you get to the physical divider and end up in a head-on collision with traffic approaching from your left. You must take notice of the do not enter and wrong way signs. To correctly turn left onto a divided highway, you need to cross the first roadway where there is a safe gap in traffic approaching from your left, and then turn left on the other side of the barrier where there is a safe gap in traffic approaching from the right on the second roadway. Here are guidelines for moving into and through intersections safely. To travel across an intersection with a two-way stop sign, you need about a 6-second gap in both directions to cross a 30 miles per hour street. That's about a block of clear space to the right and left. At the stop sign, first look to the left, then look to your right for a safe gap, and then quickly check to your left again before proceeding. To turn right at an intersection, look left, straight ahead, right, and then left again to make sure there is no traffic coming. Allow a gap of about 8 seconds between you and any vehicle approaching from the left. To turn left at an intersection, make sure you have a clear gap to turn in front of oncoming traffic and traffic on the cross street is stopped. If you are turning from a minor onto a major street, allow a 9-second gap between you and any vehicle approaching from the right. It's important when turning left to avoid conflicts with vehicles turning left from the opposite direction. Imagine an X at the very center of all the lanes of traffic at an intersection. By turning before you reach the X, you avoid a conflict with the other left-turning drivers. By always turning into the lane closest to the center line, you also avoid interfering with traffic coming from the opposite direction, which is making a right turn onto the same street. Most important, never start a left turn until you can see that all lanes you need to cross are clear and you can safely make the turn. Some roads in busy commercial areas have a physical barrier dividing traffic, which is moving in opposite directions, and display signs at the signalized intersections saying no left turn or no U-turn and all turns from right lane. In this situation, the road may be designed with what are called jug handles for making left turns. They look just like a right-handed pitcher or jug handle. With a jug handle, instead of making a left turn directly across oncoming traffic, you use this right turn lane that curves back to intersect the major road at a traffic light where you can safely turn left. Roundabouts and traffic circles are circular intersections where traffic moves counterclockwise so that all turns into and out of the circle are right turns. This traffic flow eliminates the risk of head-on, left turn, and right-angle crashes. Roundabouts have special rules and a special design, which makes them different from traffic circles. This manual will focus on how to use roundabouts, since these kind of circular intersections are replacing the large, old-fashioned, and high-speed traffic circles and are being installed in many communities instead of intersections with traffic signals, primarily due to their safety and operational benefits. Please refer to your manual for a detailed illustration of a roundabout. Roundabouts are sometimes installed at the end of the ramp of interchanges. They have yield signs at each entry point and yield lines painted on the pavement at each entry point. Most roundabouts also have a destination sign on the approach so you know where each exiting road will take you. Here's how to use a circular intersection. First, when approaching a roundabout, slow down and be prepared to yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk. Next, pull up to the yield line, look to the left, and check for approaching traffic within the roundabout. Remember that circulating traffic has the right of way. Drivers who fail to yield before they enter are the most frequent cause of crashes at roundabouts. Enter the roundabout where there is an adequate gap in traffic. Then proceed counterclockwise to your exit point. You now have the right of way. Finally, as you approach your exit, use your right turn signal. Watch for pedestrians in the crosswalk and be prepared to yield and exit the roundabout. Be prepared for emergency vehicles, bicyclists, and pedestrians when you travel a roundabout. Do not enter the roundabout when emergency vehicles are approaching. Pull to the side. If you are in the roundabout, immediately exit the roundabout and pull to the side. Never stop in the roundabout. Bicyclists have the option to function as a vehicle or pedestrian when using a roundabout. When acting as a vehicle, they follow the same rules. Never overtake a bicyclist acting as a vehicle in a roundabout. If they are acting as a pedestrian, they will dismount their bicycle. Motorists must yield to pedestrians when entering and exiting a roundabout. Pedestrians will use crosswalks and islands that split the intersection, called splitter islands, to cross each leg of the roundabout. Negotiating curves. The most important thing to understand about curves is you cannot beat the laws of physics. Vehicles are heavy and they have lots of inertia. This means if you are driving too fast on a curve, your vehicle is going to keep moving straight ahead instead of around the curve, no matter how much you try to steer it or slow it down to keep it in your lane. You will either run off of the road on a left-bending curve or go into the other lane of traffic on a right-bending curve. You do not have to be traveling very fast for this to happen. If the curve is sharp and the road is wet or icy, the most reduction in speed is needed. Here's a teen crash fact. The most frequent crash type for 16-year-old drivers in Pennsylvania is a single vehicle run-off-the-road crash. From 2009 to 2011, there were 2,293 crashes and 45 people were killed. To maintain control on curves, you must slow down. Do it before you enter the curve. As you approach a curve, you will usually see a yellow diamond warning sign showing how the road bends. If the road bends at a 90-degree angle, you may see a rectangular yellow sign with a large arrow pointing left or right. Some sharp curves also have chevron warning signs placed throughout the turn. These are very helpful at night and in poor visibility conditions. Review the various types of curve warning signs shown in Chapter 2. Here's how you can safely drive through curves. Keep slightly to the right of the lane center on right curves and in the middle of your lane on left curves. The sharper the curve, the more you need to reduce your speed. Look for traffic coming from the opposite direction. A speeder could easily stray into your lane. For guidance about how to steer your vehicle, scan ahead and look to the inside edge of the curve. If there are multiple curves, look at the inside edge of each curve as far ahead as you can see. Negotiating highways and interchanges. Crashes on highways are the most severe because traffic is moving at a high speed. You are at greatest risk at highway interchanges when you are changing lanes and when traffic unexpectedly slows or stops due to congestion. Your first critical decision when entering a highway is to make sure you do not turn onto the exit ramp by mistake and drive head-on into other traffic. The exit ramp will be marked with one-way signs as well as do not enter and wrong way signs. Sometimes, but not always, the entrance ramp will have a green sign that says highway entrance. If you see a white line on your right and a yellow line on your left, you are headed in the right direction. Some highway entrances and exits are very close together with only a short weaving lane in between. Traffic entering and exiting the highway must share the weaving lane. A potential threat is posed by two drivers who want to use the same space at the same time. If you are the driver entering the highway, you must yield to the exiting driver. Entrance ramps for highways often have acceleration lanes. These lanes run beside main traffic lanes and should be long enough to allow you to accelerate to the speed of traffic before you enter the highway itself. When looking for a gap while driving on a highway entrance ramp, look over your shoulder and in your side mirror. Get in the proper lane for exiting the highway well in advance. Do not slow down until after you have moved into the exit lane. If you miss your exit, take the next one. Do not stop or back up on the highway. Do not swerve across several lanes to try to make the exit at the last second. Do not cross over the median to try to turn around. These maneuvers are illegal and can be extremely hazardous to your health and safety. Exit ramps have a warning sign to let you know the maximum safe speed. Take special note of safety when traveling on highways. Half of the fatal crashes on highways involve vehicles that have run off of the road as the result of speeding or driver fatigue. 65 miles per hour is almost 100 feet per second, which means it takes less than 1 second to run off of the road. When you change lanes to pass a slower moving vehicle on a highway, only change lanes one lane at a time. Use your turn signal every time you change lanes, and turn it on in plenty of time for other drivers to see it. If you see a vehicle about to enter the highway from an on-ramp, a common courtesy is to change lanes to allow the driver to enter the highway more easily. even though the entering driver is required to yield the right-of-way to you, such a courtesy on your part helps keep traffic moving smoothly. But first check to make sure it is clear around your vehicle. Another risk when driving on highways is inattention due to highway hypnosis. This happens when you stare straight ahead at the roadway for long periods of time and stop actively scanning ahead, behind, and around your vehicle. If you zone out in this way, you are very likely to crash into traffic slowing or stopping ahead of you. Of fatal crashes on highways, 20% involve rear-end collisions. Driver inattention and following too closely account for most of these crashes. Parking. If the street you are on has a curb, park as close to it as you can, but no more than 12 inches away. If it has no curb, pull as far off of the roadway as possible. When you must park on the roadway, use your four-way flashers and give enough room to passing vehicles. Make sure your vehicle can be seen at least 500 feet in both directions. Always park in the direction traffic moves. Make sure your vehicle cannot move. Set your parking brake and shift to park if your vehicle has an automatic shift, or to reverse or first if your vehicle has a manual shift. If you are parked on a hill, turn your wheels as follows. When parking downhill with a curb, turn your wheels completely right. When parking uphill with a curb, turn your wheels completely left. When parking uphill or downhill without a curb, turn your wheels completely right. Except in emergencies or unless a police officer tells you to do so, never stop, stand, or park your vehicle at the following places. On the roadway side of a vehicle already stopped or parked along the edge or curb of the street. This is called double parking. On the sidewalk within an intersection or on a crosswalk. Alongside or opposite any street digging or work area. On any bridge or other elevated structure or in a highway tunnel. On any railroad tracks, between roadways of a divided highway, including crossovers, within 50 feet of the nearest rail at a railroad crossing, at any place where official signs prohibit parking or stopping, in front of a public or private driveway, within 15 feet of a fire hydrant, or within 20 feet of a crosswalk at an intersection, within 30 feet of any flashing signal, stop sign, yield sign, or traffic control device located at the side of a roadway. Within 20 feet of a driveway entrance to a fire station or where your vehicle would prevent a streetcar from moving freely. On a limited access highway, unless official traffic control devices indicate you are allowed. Parallel parking is an art and very handy to learn. Here are 6 tips for doing it correctly. 1. Stop evenly with the vehicle ahead and 2 feet away from it. 2. Turn wheels sharply to the right and back slowly toward the vehicle behind. 3. As your front door passes the back bumper ahead, quickly straighten the wheels and continue to back up straight. 4. When clear of the vehicle ahead, turn the wheels sharply to the left and back slowly to the vehicle behind. 5. Turn wheels sharply to the right and pull toward the center of the parking space. 5A. If the street you are on has a curb, you must park as close to it as possible, but no more than 12 inches away. 5B. If it has no curb, you must pull as far off of the roadway as possible. 6. Before leaving your vehicle, turn off the engine, remove the key, and lock all doors. Check for traffic behind you before you get out. Special circumstances and emergencies. The following information describes how to drive safely and reduce your risk of crashing in special circumstances, such as in highway work zones, at railroad crossings, and when you encounter pedestrians, cyclists, trucks, buses, or emergency vehicles. We'll also discuss how to drive when you must deal with road rage and various driving emergencies. Information about special events and emergencies is useful for motorists to plan their trip. A motorist may choose to avoid undesirable delays or even potentially unsafe road conditions by checking media, such as www.511pa.com, to see if their trip route is clear before they depart. Work zones are areas with construction, maintenance, or utility work activities. They are identified with orange channelizing devices, such as cones or other temporary traffic control devices. You may encounter a flagger directing traffic and wearing reflective clothing. Warning signs, advanced warning vehicles, or variable message boards may be placed a minimum of 200 feet approaching a work zone. When you see the first sign, pay strict attention to the road, vehicles, equipment, and people you could encounter. Some work zones are accompanied by the Pennsylvania State Police. Moving operations, such as line painting, crack sealing, and mowing, sometimes use shadow vehicles at the back of the operation to warn motorists that there is a work zone ahead and also serve as protection to the crew. Do not pass a moving operation unless directed to. An active work zone is where workers are located on or near the roadway. Always watch out for construction workers and be prepared for abnormal conditions such as narrow lanes, rough pavement, uneven lanes, and abrupt lane shifts. Did you know that every year in the U.S., about 40,000 people, including highway workers and motorists, are injured or killed as a result of vehicle crashes in work zones? Carelessness and speeding are the main causes of traffic fatalities in work zones. Drivers must yield the right-of-way to workers and construction vehicles in work zones. By law, you must turn on your vehicle's headlights, not just the daytime running lights, when driving through these areas. You may be fined for failure to use your headlights in an active work zone. Also, fines are doubled for certain violations in active work zones, including speeding. In addition, certain violations will result in a driver's license suspension. A video about safely driving in and near work zones called Just Drive, Work Zone Smart is available on the PennDOT website at www.penndot.gov/safety and searching on Just Drive Work Zone Smart. This video is also available to school-based driver education courses. Be prepared for slow or stop traffic as you approach a work zone and follow these safety rules. Plan your trip. You may avoid travel delays if you choose an alternate route around the work zone. Do not use your cruise control in work zones. Double your following distance. The most common crash type in work zones is the rear-end collision. Prepare to change lanes as soon as you see a message telling you your lane is closed ahead. Do not cross a solid white line in a work zone. Stay in your lane. Proceed cautiously and keep moving at a safe speed as you drive through the work zone. Do not slow or stop to watch road work. Do not stop within a work zone to ask directions from the workers. Obey flaggers. Their authority overrides conventional traffic control devices. Remember, work zone flaggers can report unsafe motorists, speeders, and aggressive drivers to the police using a police arrest form. Most railroad crossings are protected only by an advanced warning sign and a crossbuck. Most crossings do not have gates to stop traffic. You must be especially alert when approaching all railroad crossings. Familiar crossings without much train traffic can be the most dangerous. If you often use such a crossing and do not usually see a train, you may start to believe trains never go by. Believing this can be dangerous. Remember these points at railroad crossings. Always look left, right, and then left again as you approach a railroad crossing. Do this even if the crossing is active and the signals are not flashing. They may not be working. If you are stopped at a railroad crossing with more than one track, do not start as soon as the train passes. Wait until you have a clear view down both tracks before you start across. Even with one track, do not start across immediately after a train passes. Check again for another train that may be approaching. Never try to pass someone as you approach or enter a railroad crossing. Do not blindly follow the lead of another vehicle crossing the tracks. If you are following another vehicle, check to make sure you have enough room to get all the way across before you drive onto the tracks. If traffic slows ahead of you, wait for it to clear before starting to cross. Do not ever get trapped on the tracks. If you make the mistake of getting trapped on a railroad crossing and a train is approaching, quickly leave the vehicle and move as far away from the track as you can. Did you know that every hour and a half a train collides with a vehicle or pedestrian in the U.S.? You are 40 times more likely to die in a crash involving a train than you are in a crash with another vehicle. Pedestrians and cyclists deserve your respect as a vehicle operator also. These groups are all more vulnerable to injury in a crash, yet have rights to use the public roads just as you do. Always remember to share the road with pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists, and moped drivers. Driving safety tips for pedestrians include the following. Yield to pedestrians crossing at intersections or in crosswalks. Right turn on red means stop, look in all directions, and then turn when it is safe. Look for pedestrians and allow ample time for them to clear the crosswalk. Always reduce speed and use extra caution when children are in the vicinity. They may fail to understand the danger and may run out in front of you without looking. You must observe school zone speed limits and stop for school buses when red signals are flashing. School zones and school bus stops are locations with high concentrations of children. Be patient with elderly pedestrians and pedestrians with disabilities. They need extra time to cross the street. Before backing up, always check for pedestrians in your path. Yield the right-of-way to blind pedestrians, meaning slow down and prepare to stop, whether they have a white cane or a guide dog or are being led by others. When approaching a stopped vehicle from behind, slow down and do not pass until you are sure there are no pedestrians crossing in front of it. When pedestrians do see you, it is never safe to wave a pedestrian into the line of traffic at any time, and especially at unmarked or mid-block locations. We will discuss the law on passing a bicyclist later, but safe driving tips include: when approaching or passing a bicycle, slow down to a safe speed. After you have passed a bicyclist, do not slow down or stop quickly. A quick stop could lead to the bicyclist crashing into your vehicle. Do not sound your horn close to bicyclists, unless you must do so to avoid a crash. For more information, the Pennsylvania Bicycle Driver's Manual, publication number 380, can be found on the PennDOT Driver and Vehicle Services website. Finally, safe driving tips for motorcyclists and moped drivers are as follows. According to the law, you must allow the motorcyclist or moped driver to use one complete lane. Most motorcycle and vehicle or moped and vehicle crashes happen at intersections. Usually, the vehicle turns left in front of a moving motorcycle or moped when the driver of the vehicle should have yielded the right-of-way. Do not assume a motorcycle or moped is turning when you see its turn signal flashing. A motorcycle or moped's turn signals may not turn off automatically like a vehicle's. Do not pull out in front of a motorcycle or a moped until you see it actually turning. Obstacles that may prove minor to a motorist can be deadly to a motorcyclist or a moped driver. Be prepared for motorcyclists or moped drivers to make sudden changes in lanes or speeds as they attempt to avoid a hazard on the road. Allow the same 4-second following distance or more that you would allow for other vehicles. Increase your following distance behind a motorcycle or moped when road or weather conditions are bad. Whether you are sharing the road with a vehicle, truck, bus, or other large vehicle, it is important for safety's sake to obey traffic laws, abide by the rules of the road, and drive defensively. There are special rules for sharing the road with trucks and buses, and the following are some suggestions you can use to make your trip safer. The key to safer highways is to know the truck's or bus's blind spot, which we call the no zone. Similar to the areas around a car, no zones include the area directly in front of the truck or bus, on either side, from their side view mirror to the left or right rear corner, and a full car length or more directly behind them. The no zone represents danger areas around trucks and buses where crashes are more likely to occur. On a level highway, it takes only 3 to 5 seconds longer to pass a truck than a vehicle. On an upgrade, a truck often loses speed, so it's easier to pass than a vehicle. On a downgrade, the truck's momentum will cause it to go faster, so you may need to increase your speed. When vehicles cut in too soon after passing and then abruptly slow down, truck drivers are forced to compensate with little time or room to spare. Make sure there is plenty of space between your vehicle and any vehicle ahead of you in the passing lane so you are not trapped if the truck begins to pull into your lane. Pass quickly without hanging in the truck's blind spot. Keep both hands on the wheel to deal with the effects of turbulence. You may want to stay to the left side of the passing lane. Complete your pass as quickly as possible and do not stay alongside the other vehicle. Be sure to move back only when you see the front of the truck in your rear view mirror. After you pass a truck, maintain your speed. Think twice about passing on curves where there is a greater danger of error and a higher collision potential. Allow yourself plenty of time when passing a truck. At highway speeds, it can take up to 30 seconds to safely pass a truck. When you pass, do so quickly. Do not continuously drive alongside a truck. You are in the truck driver's no zone. After passing, change lanes only when you see the truck's headlights or front grille in your rearview mirror. When a truck passes your vehicle, you can help the truck driver by keeping to the far side of your lane. You will make it easier for the truck driver if you reduce your speed slightly and then keep your speed steady. In any event, do not increase your speed while the truck is passing you. Trucks have much larger no zones on both sides of their vehicle than passenger vehicles. When you drive in these no zones, you cannot be seen by truck drivers. If you are in a truck's blind spot and it begins to move over into your lane, remain calm and take note of your vehicle's position relative to the front of the truck. Decide whether to speed up or slow down to avoid a collision. Consider the shoulder as an escape route. When you meet a truck coming from the opposite direction, keep as far as possible to the side to avoid a sideswipe crash and to reduce the wind turbulence between your vehicle and the truck. Remember, the wind turbulence pushes vehicles apart. It does not pull them together. Maintain plenty of cushion between your vehicle and any vehicle ahead of you. Because of their size, trucks need longer distances to stop. However, a vehicle following a truck too closely still may not be able to stop quickly enough to avoid rear-ending the truck. If you are following a truck, stay out of its no zone. Avoid following too closely and position your vehicle so the truck driver can see it in his side mirrors. You will then have a good view of the road ahead, and the truck driver can give you plenty of warning for a stop or a turn. You will have more time to react and make a safe stop. When following a truck or bus, if you cannot see the side mirrors of the vehicle in front of you, the driver of the large vehicle cannot see you. Leave plenty of room between you and the truck when coming to a stop on a hill. Trucks may roll back as a driver takes his or her foot off of the brake. When you follow a truck or any vehicle at night, always dim your headlights. Bright lights from a vehicle behind will blind the truck driver when they reflect off of the truck's large side mirrors. Fact: at least 4 seconds are needed to keep you out of the truck's rear blind spot. Here's an easy method to compute the correct distance. As a truck passes a stationary object alongside the road, start counting 1001, 1002, and so on. You should reach 1004 just as your front bumper reaches the same object. If you arrive before 1004, you are traveling too close to the back of the truck. Pay close attention to truck turn signals. Truck drivers must make wide turns so the rear of the truck or the rear of a tractor-trailer can clear the corner and any other standing obstructions. Sometimes, space from other lanes is used to clear corners. To avoid a crash, do not pass until the turning action is complete. Again, pay close attention to turn signals. Fact: trucks make wide turns. It may look like trucks are going straight or turning left when they are actually making a right turn. This, combined with blind spots alongside the trailer, makes trying to pass a turning truck a dangerous maneuver. Truck drivers cannot see vehicles squeezing in between them and the curb. Stay put and give truck drivers plenty of room to turn. Oversized loads are accompanied by pilot vehicles. Oversized load movements operate the same as tractor-trailers and should be treated with the same rules as trucks. Most oversized loads operate within prescribed lanes. However, due to their excessive width, obstacles on the berm could cause them to cross the yellow or white line. Pilot vehicles are required by law to help warn motorists of oversized loads and slow-moving vehicles. Pilot vehicles are required to have special signs and lights to help you identify them, and you should be aware that a pilot vehicle signals an approaching oversized vehicle. When you see these vehicles, please take extra caution. Never try to cross behind a truck preparing to back up. Often, when a truck driver is preparing to back the truck from a roadway into a loading area, there is no choice but to temporarily block the roadway. It is here that some drivers and pedestrians attempt to pass behind the truck rather than wait the few seconds for the truck to complete its maneuver. In passing close behind the truck, the driver or pedestrian enters the truck's no zone, and a crash may occur. Unlike the hydraulic brakes on vehicles, trucks and buses may have air brakes and take longer distances to stop. A loaded truck with good tires and properly adjusted brakes, traveling at 65 miles per hour on a clear, dry roadway, requires a minimum of 600 feet to come to a complete stop, compared to the stopping distance of 400 feet for a passenger vehicle. It is essential to refrain from entering a roadway in front of a large vehicle, or if you are turning off of the roadway, to avoid changing lanes in front of a large vehicle. On long downgrades, there may be special escape or runaway ramps for trucks. These ramps are to be used only by large vehicles that are out of control or cannot stop because of brake failure. Never stop or park in the vicinity of these ramps. Buses are vehicles that also take up more room on a road than an ordinary vehicle. The same procedures should be followed when sharing the road with a bus or a truck. Pennsylvania has special rules you must follow when you drive near a school bus. These rules protect children and drivers. When a school bus is preparing to stop, its amber or yellow lights will begin flashing. When the bus stops with its red lights flashing and its stop arm extended, you must stop at least 10 feet away from the bus, whether you are behind it or coming toward it on the same roadway, or if you are approaching an intersection at which the school bus is stopped. Remain stopped until the red lights stop flashing, the stop arm has been withdrawn, and the children have reached a safe place. All vehicles must stop for school buses. Failure to stop for a school bus with a flashing red light and an extended stop arm will result in a 60-day suspension of your driver's license, 5 points on your driving record, and a fine. There is only one exception to the school bus stopping requirement. If you are approaching a school bus that is stopped with its red lights flashing and stop arm extended, and you are driving on the opposite side of a divided highway where there are concrete or metal barriers, guide rails, or a median of trees, rocks, streams, or grass, you do not have to stop. Reduce your speed and continue driving with caution. It is critical to watch out for emergency vehicles and emergency situations when you are driving. Certain vehicles have sirens and flashing red lights or a combination of flashing red and blue lights. The lights assist emergency vehicles to move quickly through traffic and to answer emergency calls. Emergency vehicles include fire department vehicles, police cars, ambulances, blood delivery vehicles, and specially equipped vehicles from rescue organizations. Watch out for them. When you hear a siren or see a vehicle approaching from any direction with flashing red lights or a combination of red and blue lights, you must pull over to the curb or side of the road and stop. Drive parallel and as near to the curb as possible. On one-way streets, drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. Stay clear of intersections. Start driving again after the emergency vehicle passes you, keeping at least 500 feet away from it. Make sure an other emergency vehicle is not coming. During an emergency situation, all drivers must obey the direction of any uniformed police officer, sheriff, constable, or any properly attired person, including fire police. Take sirens seriously and make way for an ambulance, fire truck, or police vehicle. Someday you may be the one calling for help, or the life on the line might be a friend or family member. The Steer Clear Law, which went into effect September 8, 2006, requires motorists to move into a lane that is not adjacent to an emergency response area. An emergency response area is an area on or near a road where services are being provided by police, sheriffs, coroners, medical examiners, firefighters, fire police, fire marshals, rescue personnel, emergency medical service personnel, towing and recovery personnel, hazardous material response team members, or highway construction and maintenance personnel. If drivers cannot move over because of traffic or other conditions, they must reduce their speed. In cases where law enforcement may not be present, the law allows road workers and emergency responders to report violations by motorists. Law enforcement may issue citations based on these reports. Failure to move over or slow down can result in a summary offense that carries a fine of up to $250. In addition, fines will be doubled for traffic violations occurring in work zones areas. If that violation leads to a worker being injured, a 90-day license suspension could result. There are some important things to remember in areas where you may encounter horse-drawn vehicles or horseback riders. Many horse-drawn vehicles are dark in color and therefore are difficult to see at dawn, dusk, and nighttime. When following or stopped behind a horse-drawn vehicle, be sure to leave plenty of room between the two vehicles. After stopping, horse-drawn vehicles often roll backward, and following too close limits the horse-drawn vehicle driver's ability to see you. This cushion will also provide adequate space for when you prepare to pass. When you pass a horse-drawn vehicle or horseback rider, do not drive too fast or blow your horn, as this may spook the horse. Also, to avoid spooking the horse after passing, be sure to leave enough space between your vehicle and the horse before pulling back into the right lane. Always remember, when on the road, everyone has the same rights. An open bed pickup truck or open flatbed truck may not be driven at a speed of more than 35 miles per hour if any person is occupying the bed of the truck. Such a truck may not be driven when a child under 18 years of age is occupying the bed of the truck. Exceptions to this law are a child of a farmer who is being transported between parts of a farm or farms owned or operated by the farmer in order to perform work on the farm or farms. A child employed to perform farm labor who is being transported between parts of a farm or farms owned or operated by the child's employer or employers. A child possessing a valid hunting license who is being transported between a hunting camp and a hunting site or between hunting sites during hunting season. A child who is a participant in an officially sanctioned parade, but only during the course of the parade. Snowplow drivers removing snow in the winter have very limited visibility in their mirrors. Plows must often turn around, and their drivers cannot see you behind them. Be sure to follow at a safe distance. This safe distance will help you protect your vehicle from being damaged by the salt, de-icing liquids, and anti-skid pellets thrown from snowplows. Also, these vehicles may have wing plows that stick out several feet on either side. These wings are difficult for drivers to see in bad weather or at night, and have been involved in multiple sideswipe accidents. To be safe, you should not attempt to pass a plow, either on the left or on the right. Road rage incidents make for good news headlines, but you should never take your anger out on someone else on the road. Sometimes incidents of road rage are caused by simple misunderstandings between drivers. One driver may make a momentary error in judgment that another driver sees as an aggressive act, though none was intended. Never take it personally when someone cuts you off or pulls in front of you. Just let it go and ignore the other driver. Did you know that of the approximate 1,500 highway deaths in Pennsylvania each year, about 60% or around 900 are attributed to aggressive driving? If something does happen, do not retaliate. It is a serious distraction to focus your attention on a supposed contest with another driver. You are less able to respond to traffic signs, signals, and the actions of other vehicles or pedestrians to avoid a crash. Do not try to teach another driver a lesson. Do not insist on being right, even if you are right. You could be dead right. Here are some tips to help you stay safe if you encounter an aggressive driver. Make every attempt to get out of the aggressive driver's way. Do not block the passing lane. If someone demands to pass, let them go. Do not challenge an aggressive driver by speeding up. It will just make the driver angrier and endanger you. Avoid eye contact with a hostile driver. Ignore gestures and do not gesture back. Call the police or 911 if you have a hands-free device and can do it safely, or have a passenger call. If an aggressive driver pursues you, do not go home. Instead, drive to a police station, convenience store, or other location where you can get help and there will be witnesses. If you are like most drivers, you will not have the chance to practice how you would act in an emergency before it happens. But knowing what to do in certain critical driving situations or emergencies can still make a difference. Taking the wrong action or no action when something goes wrong obviously will increase your chances of crashing your vehicle. When you have a choice of either braking or steering to avoid a collision, it is usually better if you can steer to avoid the hazard than to brake, particularly at speeds above 25 miles per hour. This is because your reaction time to swerve is faster than your reaction time to brake. But you must have good steering skills to keep control of your vehicle in an emergency. Did you know that in a review of 12,000 crashes, 37% of the drivers took no action to avoid the crash? As a general rule, you should be holding the steering wheel with both hands. A two-handed grip is especially important in emergencies because evasive steering requires you to turn the steering wheel quickly at least one half turn in one direction, and then turn the wheel back almost a full circle in the opposite direction once you clear the object. You then return to center steering to continue moving in your original direction of travel. At higher speeds, less steering input is needed to move your vehicle to the left or right. If you think of the steering wheel as a clock face, your hands should hold the wheel at either the 9 and 3 o'clock position or the 8 and 4 o'clock position, whichever is the most comfortable. Keep your thumbs along the face of the steering wheel instead of gripping the inside of the rim. By keeping your hands in this position on the wheel, you will be less likely to overcorrect during an emergency steering maneuver, which could cause you to spin out of control or run off of the road. It is less likely the airbag will throw your arms and hands back into your face, maybe even breaking them if you are involved in a crash. Your arms will be more comfortable and less fatigued during long drives. A 10 and 2 o'clock hand position is acceptable. However, if your airbag deploys, you are at risk of injury. There are two ways to use the steering wheel to make a turn. In the hand-over-hand method, the driver reaches across the steering wheel to grasp the opposite side and pulls the wheel over the top, repeating as needed. In the push-pull method, one hand pushes on the steering wheel while the other hand slides to the top and then pulls the wheel down, repeating the action until the turn is complete. If you cannot avoid a collision, remember this. Injury prevention in a crash depends mostly on wearing your seatbelt properly, having your head restraints properly adjusted, having an airbag in your vehicle, and being positioned at least 10 inches away from your airbag. If you have to brake suddenly, your safety depends on knowing whether your vehicle has a conventional or anti-lock braking system and how to use it. If you have a conventional braking system, press and release the brakes repeatedly. Pumping the brakes will slow your vehicle and keep it under control. Slamming on your brakes can lock your wheels, causing your vehicle to skid. If you have an anti-lock braking system, also called ABS, maintain firm and continuous pressure on the brake and your vehicle will not skid. Do not pump the brake pedal. Do not be alarmed by mechanical noises or slight pulsations. You should check your owner's manual to determine what kind of braking system your vehicle has. Do this before you get into an emergency. Knowing how to apply your brakes in an emergency situation may save your life. If your vehicle starts to skid on a wet or icy road, look and steer in the direction you want to go. If the rear of your vehicle is skidding to the left, turn the wheel to the left. If the rear of your vehicle is skidding to the right, turn the wheel to the right. When you steer to correct a skid, an other skid may result in the opposite direction, but the second skid will not be as bad as the first. Be ready to stop the second skid the same way by steering in the direction the rear of your vehicle is skidding. It may take a few of these corrections before you have fully regained control of your vehicle. When skidding, do not use your brakes. If you hit the brakes, the skid will be worse. You risk locking your wheels and losing all steering control. On flooded roadways, even at low speeds, as little as 6 inches of water can cause you to lose control of your vehicle or truck and can float some small vehicles. 2 feet of water will carry away most vehicles, including sport utility vehicles. Once a vehicle floats off of the roadway into deeper water, it may roll and fill with water, trapping the driver and passengers inside. If there is moving water on the road, the safest thing to do is find another route. You should note that it is against the law to drive around or through signs or traffic control devices that close a road or highway due to hazardous conditions. For more information on the law and its penalties, listen to Chapter 5. If your accelerator or gas pedal sticks, your vehicle may keep going faster and faster. If this happens, 1. Keep your eyes on the road. You can tap the pedal a few times to see if it will spring back to normal. You may be able to lift it with your toe, but do not reach down to try to free the pedal with your hand. 2. If the pedal remains stuck, shift to neutral immediately and use the brakes. This action will cause your engine to race, but the power will be removed from your wheels. 3. When you have slowed down to a safe speed, concentrate on steering and pull off the road. 4. Stop, turn off the engine, and put on your emergency flashers. If you need to slow or stop quickly, turn your ignition to off. Do not turn it to lock because you will lose steering ability. Then apply your brakes. It will require more effort to steer and brake with your ignition off. In newer vehicles, a split braking system reduces the possibility of total brake failure. If your brake system warning light comes on, you may have braking in 2 of the 4 wheels, probably 1 front wheel and 1 rear wheel. This feature will allow you to pull over to the side of the road or into the next service station. You will feel the brake pedal go down farther than usual before the vehicle begins to slow, and you will need to push harder on the pedal. Your stopping distance is increased, so be aware of where your vehicle is headed. Shifting to a lower gear will help you slow down. If you have an older vehicle and your brakes suddenly fail, you should 1. Shift to low gear and look for a place to slow to stop. 2. Pump the brake pedal quickly several times. This action will often build up enough brake pressure to stop the vehicle. 3. Use the parking or emergency brake if pumping the brake pedal does not work. Hold the brake release so you can let off of the parking brake if the rear wheels lock and you begin to skid. 4. Keep your eyes focused on where you're going and look for a safe place to pull off of the road. Look for an open place to steer into or steer into an uphill road. 5. Turn your ignition off as a last resort. If the vehicle still will not stop and you are in danger of crashing, do not turn it to the lock position because this action will also lock your steering. Then shift into your lowest gear. This action could damage your transmission, so only downshift as a last-ditch effort to keep you from crashing. 6. After you have stopped your vehicle, call for help. Do not try to drive. If you have a tire blowout, sometimes thumping noises start beforehand. However, you usually will not know ahead of time when a tire will blow. You should protect against blowouts by keeping your tires in good condition and properly inflated. When a front tire blows out, your steering wheel will vibrate and you will feel the vehicle suddenly pull to one side. When a rear tire blows out, one corner of the vehicle will drop suddenly and you will feel the rear of the vehicle wobble back and forth. If one of your tires blows out, do the following. Hold the steering wheel tightly. Stay off of your brake. Braking after a blowout will cause you to skid and lose control of your vehicle. Slowly take your foot off of the gas pedal. Steer where you want to go, but steer smoothly. Do not make large or jerky steering actions. You can ride on a flat tire as long as you need to in order to get to a safe spot to pull over and change it. If you have to use your brakes, press them gently. Let the vehicle slow to a stop. Make sure it is off of the road before you change the tire. If your vehicle drifts off of the pavement onto the shoulder, a serious crash can result if you do not know how to recover steering control. A drop-off can happen if you are driving too close to the edge of the road or if you drive too fast through a curve and allow your front tire to drift off of the road. Drop-offs are fairly common, especially on rural roads. They can also occur where roads are being resurfaced and there is a ledge at the shoulder. A drop-off can quickly become an emergency if you do not know how to recover from it. The most important things to remember are: do not steer sharply and do not brake suddenly. If you turn the wheel sharply to get back onto the road, it can cause the vehicle to whip sideways and cross into oncoming traffic. If you brake hard with two wheels on the pavement and two wheels on a soft shoulder, the vehicle will probably skid out of control. Here's what you should do if you drift off of the pavement. 1. Ease off of the gas pedal to slow down when your two wheels on the right side both go off of the pavement. Do not brake suddenly. If you must brake to avoid a hazard on the shoulder, use gradual, controlled braking to avoid locking the wheels. 2. Keep a tight grip on the steering wheel and steer parallel to the roadway with two wheels on the roadway and two wheels off, straddling the drop-off edge. Keep the tires from scraping the edge of the pavement. Stay calm and keep a firm grip on the steering wheel. A soft or wet shoulder will pull your vehicle to the right. Do not steer sharply trying to get back on the road. 3. Continue to slow gradually until you are traveling very slowly, less than 25 miles per hour and preferably closer to 10 miles per hour, and you have your vehicle under control. 4. Check for traffic approaching from the rear in the lane you will re-enter. Turn on your left turn signal. Gently steer left to ease the right wheels onto the pavement when it is clear. As soon as you feel your wheels come back onto the road, gently steer right to straighten out. 5. Finally, speed up to match the flow of traffic once you are safely back on the pavement and in complete control of your vehicle. If another vehicle is approaching head-on in your lane, first, honk your horn to attract attention. If the other driver does not move over, try to escape to the right if possible. If you swerve left and the other driver corrects at the last instant, you will still crash. If a collision is unavoidable, brake firmly and steadily. Every mile per hour you slow down will reduce the impact. If you see a funeral procession on the road, yield to vehicles in the procession. Once the lead vehicle has cleared an intersection, the rest of the procession may proceed through the intersection. Other traffic must yield. Allow the procession to pass and do not cut in and out of the procession unless you are directed otherwise by a police officer or an agent or employee of the funeral director during a funeral. All vehicles in a funeral procession must have their headlights and emergency flashers turned on and bear a flag or other insignia designating them as part of the procession. Vehicles in a funeral procession may also have a flashing or revolving purple light displayed on the vehicle during the procession. Drivers in funeral processions may proceed through a red light or a stop sign if the lead vehicle starts through the intersection while the light was green. In the case of a stop sign, the lead vehicle must first come to a complete stop before proceeding through the intersection. Funeral processions must